Yeah.
Suddenly, footwork launches are way more powerful.
Yeah, some weird trade-off that makes it worth it. No PBC runs. Current patch no PBC. And then we get to fly or something.
Can we even downpatch the game? Like, is that an option? Like, surely the EA
Actually,
launch
I
would
don't
have thrown a fit.
know. Yeah. I think since a lot of it runs through the EA app, it's
This is not the current version of the game. You're a criminal.
yeah.
So right here at the beginning, Cal is stuck in a walking sequence. If we can find a way to void out, as Z-Money just did by getting a PBL off of the twins, we get full control over Cal, and we can begin running or doing this interesting movement tech by dodging twice forward and then blocking to cancel the end of the dodge animation. We can move about 10 to 15% faster than sprinting, depending on execution. This is the fastest way we're going to move in the run, generally speaking. There's some other things that we're going to do that are way faster, but we'll cover them when we get there. Here, there's a cutscene by this probe droid. There's a trigger that Z-Money just jumped over. The cutscene takes about 8 seconds where we get scanned by the probe droid, so jumping over it is very nice. It also makes this elevator ride a lot more fun if we can jump over it.
Yeah, I want to understand like why this happens. It's just their starting positions is determined by where the elevator is, I guess. So if the elevator isn't all the way down when we activate it, it just keeps that distance the same, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Really wild.
I mean, the other alternative is that we just have to wait for it to come down anyway, which would be unfortunate.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting how sometimes K405 is here and sometimes he isn't.
Yeah, it's like he voids out somehow during the activation and can't make it to his starting position.
You'll burn for this. That's mine.
So right here is a tutorial sequence just to kind of learn all of Cal's combat abilities. This is one of the reasons why we turned off tutorials at the beginning of the game, because otherwise each one of those interactions would have been a button prompt. We have a script to take these guys out as quickly as we can and manage our force appropriately. Sometimes it can be a little bit awkward because these guys don't really like to cooperate all the time. Well, it looks like they were pretty nice to Z-Money here. Something that's kind of subtle is he jumped off the edge there. If you can void out at the right time, you can kind of get some early control in this sequence. Looks like we didn't get it, but it's fine. It only saves like a second. Here in this climb sequence, there's actually a skip that you can do by dropping off the grate right about now. And what that does is it skips the very end of the tutorial climb sequence here, but it causes the game to not reset your void out point. So if we were to fall off the map at any point, we would respawn back at the beginning of the climb. So Z-Money doesn't do it here in interest of marathon safety. Here he PBCs through this kind of door instead of taking a second to force push it.
Oops.
And that's why he didn't do the climb skip at the beginning. Otherwise, we'd be way back at the start of the climb. Coming up here is another PBL. This is kind of what most people say when they mean when they say PBL. Doing certain animations against a grate like this causes Cal to get kicked back, and then pressing F11 during that kickback can give us a pretty crazy launch. It's worth noting that they are pretty setup dependent and pretty precise. There's a lot of factors that go into them, including hardware. So a lot of different runners will have slightly different setups depending on their own systems, but all of these launches are possible on most PCs. I don't want to say all because that's a very strong statement, but
Yeah.
basically all. I haven't known anybody who hasn't been able to get a launch.
A lot of PCs can't even run this like properly.
True.
Still too early.
It's also worth noting that these launches aren't overly consistent, so sometimes the game can just decide that you don't get a launch. Luckily here, Z-Money did get this launch, and there's a load trigger in this elevator shaft, as you saw when Cal kind of froze in the air there. Most of these launches were aiming to hit a load trigger, so that just makes them all the more precise because there's a specific spot that we want to hit. Like you're playing darts, and Cal is the dart.
We're gonna get an error message from the game here because it detects we skipped a checkpoint. So it asks if we want to load back to where it thinks we should be or proceed at our own risk, and we're gonna proceed. It's a really interesting thing they decided to add into the game there. I think it was mainly because there are definitely some areas where you can use Cal's abilities to skip over a cliff and stuff, and I'm not sure if that was an intended mechanic necessarily for them with how powerful some of the abilities are, but that's probably like a little failsafe they added in just in case to not skip any story elements.
Can you imagine if it detected that we skipped something, it just automatically reloaded?
It'd be absurd.
Super glitchless.
We'd have to find some absurd like PVC strat.
Frame perfect pausing to skip the pop-up.
Yeah.
Here Z-Money finishes off the boss by throwing the lightsaber, because if he were to do a basic attack, it would have locked him into about a 10-second execution cutscene. This is a tutorial for the Ascension Cable ability, but we can skip most of it by just PVCing through this wall.
I wonder if I can make it to that second little raised collision.
Here's our first use of a trick called Pocket NFT. By overlaying certain animations, in this case jumping and activating Cal's lightsaber, it allows us to fall farther than the game normally allows us to without voiding out. Normally, if you fall a certain distance beyond your starting point, the game just automatically voids Cal out. But NFT provides us a way around that.
Definitely felt it lag there, but it ate my jump kinda. Alright. Can get on top of the roof there and still go on the other side, but if you fall, you just have to go through this slow crawl space.
Yeah, this whole sequence is basically us doing several PBCs in order to skip a story sequence in the senator's yacht. Normally, we were supposed to be on board interrogating the senator right now, but we can just skip that by dropping down to Undercity Meets early. It does have the interesting effect of soft locking us out of the boss fight, so we had to find a way around that as well. That boss fight is the ninth sister who survived her encounter with Cal in the first game, and as I said before, she's just not in the boss arena. If we were to drop down into the boss arena, we would just get stuck. So luckily, Z-Money found a way around that entirely by taking this out of bounds movement that he's demonstrating right now.
Nice. Gotta love that. You landed. You jumped too late. Double flip. Oh. can usually get my second jump if I time my first jump properly. Right. Yeah, the arena's down there to the left. We just kind of go around the invisible walls to get to the end of that boss fight.
Bode, Bravo. Are you there?
Riding that elevator loads the landing pad properly, and then this final section is all we need to skip grapple. Actually have a bounty for finding a grapple skip.
So if anyone wants a free copy of Jedi 3,
Yeah, there you go.
here we can jump on this lamp to skip a very small climbing sequence. It's pretty precise, but it's not too bad once you get the hang of it.
Fingers close.
Here we can skip a bunch of the upcoming combat by going out of bounds, which bypasses the load triggers for about half the enemies that we are now expected to fight.
Nice. Bah! Alright.
How did that not parry it?
I jumped and blocked at the same time.
Oh wait, you don't get parries if you're in the air?
No, it still took away his like stamina or whatever, but it
Oh,
didn't
it just
play
doesn't do the
slow.
whole like visual.
Yeah.
Okay. Alright. Yeah, so unfortunately our mission to Coruscant went about as poorly as it could have. Basically all of Cal's new crew is dead except for Bode, and we're gonna head to Kobo to meet up with Grease and let the heat die down. Unfortunately, on the way to Kobo, the Mantis breaks down, which strands us there. What Z-Money's doing right now is just a little introduction to the Mantis kind of tutorial thing. Meant to like show players around the Mantis if they didn't play Fallen Order.
If you've played Fallen Order, you'll know how convenient it is to jog in the Mantis. It's very convenient to jog on Survivor in the Mantis. In Fallen Order, you have to walk everywhere in the Mantis.
Here on this cliff, we're going to see a second use of Pocket NFT. This is actually the most time save out of any of the Pocket NFT uses, because it skips going all the way around the cliff. Here, Z-Money sits at this meditation pad, because this game has fast travel, unlike Fallen Order, and we're going to fast travel here later. Because we're coming here later, Z-Money also calls the elevator down now, so we don't have to wait for it in the future. Here, he clips out of bounds in order to drop down to a hidden grate to perform another PBL that skips about a third of Kobo.
Might be too far. Yeah, it is. Damn. So
Rip.
close. There we go.
An interesting quirk of the Pocket NFT on the cliff there is that if we've wait out during the launch, sometimes we can respawn up at the top of the cliff, but not always.
Why? Whoa. On something. That was weird. Is that what you're talking about? Like the collision that you can land on and fall down to?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that could have could have made it maybe. Don't land. Alright. Go with that, I guess. The backup of the backup. The OG launch stuff. No slashes needed. We're just going to beeline it to this tower for another launch. We're just trying to get to the next part of the story that we need to progress. Should be okay here. Just gonna go up here and get this med point for safety because we're doing one more launch. And it can soft lock us if we mess it up.
Yeah, at this point in the story, Cal has met up with Grease. We've been introduced to the Bedlam Raiders, kind of the main antagonistic force of the game, if you will. All right, sorry, I had to sneeze. Nice launch. Um, we've learned about Tanalor, which is a planet that is near Kobo. It's very hard to access. It was found by 2 Jedi in the High Republic era, and Cal is now headed to the Forest Array to find the, quote, key to Tanalor. Tanalor is of interest to Cal because it's hard to access, so it can serve as a place for people who are being hunted by the Empire, such as Cal and his friends, to potentially like live out their days free from the Empire. Unfortunately, the key to Tanalor is actually a Jedi named Dagan Gera. Dagan wanted the Jedi Council to use Tanalor as a new Jedi temple, a place to train the next generation of Jedi. And when the Council wasn't super interested, Dagan grew very bitter and wanted to take Tanalor for himself. He's kind of the main villain of the game, and most of the story follows Cal trying to keep it out of Dagon's hands. However, we don't actually see him at all in the run because there are some fun shenanigans with mounts that we can do to completely skip him.
Right.
All the critters around the array are pretty riled up. Could be the dust in the air. Imperial patrols probably don't help either. Careful, BD.
So here the Relter was not visible until BD1 ran up to it. That happens because we skipped over a loading trigger when we launched here. The Relter is now in a bugged state. Normally, when you finish gliding with the Relter, it will fly away. However, now, once Z-Money lands with the Relter will just kind of stay there, so he can use it again. This will allow him to use it to cross a gap that otherwise we would have to do some pretty precise jumps to get over. So the Relter is just way more convenient for this since it's right here. Z-Money's also going to rest at this meditation pad to set up for a death warp later.
Tanalor is real.
No.
It may be the last corner of this galaxy
we're-
that's safe
we're
from the
okay.
Empire. I wish you could have seen it too, BD. I think we just found our ticket out of here. Easy.
Here's the Neko. It's the other mount you can do on Kobo. They're really good for movement because they're slightly faster than the block dodge chaining that we do.
Let's grab a lift,
But they also
BD.
can help out with some skips. And we're going to do one immediately right here.
Yeah, like with most features in this game, the F11 key breaks Nekos. Specifically, if you press F11 at a specific point in the Neko's jump animation, you get a super Neko jump, which Z-Money's using here for a couple of small traversal skips, but S&Js are going to become very important to the run in a couple minutes. There he got stuck on an invisible tree. Sometimes if you play in certain settings, trees just are invisible for some reason.
It's pretty fun. It's a mini game. There's one.
Looks like the Mantis is back in action.
This Mantis flying by is not the real Mantis, it's just a cutscene. The real Mantis is still back in the crash site at the gorge. So it's just a matter of getting into it.
I'm gonna F11 as I get off the the Neko here, and let me clip through the wall. If you play the game casually, you will have recognized this tower as the final thing to unlock the last planet of the game.
Yeah, there's a dev placeholder cutscene here that sometimes frame perfect pausing can let you skip. Unfortunately, we didn't get it, so we just have to watch a 20-second timer. Getting into this tower is pretty much the single biggest time save that was found for any percent, found by a runner named Superboss 8 days after the game came out. So, yeah, pretty nice time save there. Unfortunately, the only way to get out of here is to die, so that's why we rested at the meditation point earlier. Z-Money switches to Jedi Grandmaster here so that he can begin clipping out of the tower and taking damage. Sometimes clipping out of the tower can be a little bit awkward as it's constantly in motion, so sometimes Cal likes to get stuck in the floor or the walls. We have interacted with that, we have unlocked Tanalor, and now we just have to get out of the tower and get into the Mantis.
Come on. There we go. Oh, I got one sliver of health left. Gonna immediately switch back to story mode when I spawn back in the Neko pools here. And set up a glitch.
Yeah, by blocking with your lightsaber, you can cancel certain animations. In this case, sitting down at an airwalk, or sitting down at a meditation pad, that's called an airwalk. It allows you to move around while you're still technically sitting on the med pad, which in this case lets us mount a Neko and causes the Neko to teleport back to the meditation pad. This lets Z-Money fast travel with the Neko to take it places that it wasn't supposed to be, such as the crashed Mantis.
Last time I saw a Lucre Hulk was Braca. A long time ago, Prof. What would you say now? Come on, Mantis won't repair itself. Let's hope Grease has the parts we need.
To get to the Mantis here, it's just a matter of Super Neko jumping up to the height of the Mantis, then jumping off the Neko and clipping into the walls of the Mantis. It can be a little tricky with timing. If too early, Cal can sometimes get stuck in a bugged animation, and if you are too late, the Neko has a tendency to teleport away or even disappear. So it can be a little bit tricky. Looks like Z-Money just got it, and now he's in a spot called Bad Spot. Bad Spot is in the walls of the Mantis, but you cannot clip directly into the interior from Bad Spot. We have to go from Bad Spot to Good Spot. Getting out of Bad Spot is easier than it used to be, but it's still pretty tricky. You have to get Cal grounded, and then from there it's a matter of doing an attack and PBCing, or just dodging through. Getting Cal grounded here is probably the hardest part of this. It's very challenging because the camera doesn't really like to cooperate, but Z-Money just got it there, so now it's just a matter of clipping through this wall into the actual interior of the Mantis.
Now Tanalor we can select and go on to the end of the game.
Yeah, so the final boss of Jedi Survivor is not Degengara, it's actually Bode, our friend and companion from the beginning. As it would turn out, Bode has actually been a spy working for the Empire to provide for his daughter the entire time. Tanalor offers him and his daughter a way out, so instead of Dagon taking Tanalor from us, it is now Bode taking Tanalor from us. So we have to go stop him. And he's also a Jedi.
Hope Grease is ready for a bumpy ride.
Right.
Tanalor itself is just a straight shot to the fight with Bode, but there's a couple of things that we can do to get there slightly quicker.
So this is Tanalor.
Not what you were expecting?
I don't know what I was expecting. So much has changed since I first heard its name.
The temple's this way. Dagon and Centauri Creed planned their future here.
And look where it got them.
Going out of bounds here lets us take a more direct line to the boss arena, rather than the kind of windy path that's laid out for us. Z-Money also used our last instance of Pocket NFT there to drop down here, and I am behind again. Great. Yeah.
Oh, you're good. Even if it's
Honestly,
like
it's
slightly
probably,
delayed, it's not a big deal because it's like,
yeah,
especially
it's not
here,
terrible.
we got so much time to work with.
Mhm.
Like I'm still debating even mentioning the early Tanalor stuff. Like
Every Jedi
with that out of bounds, it's like, oh, they probably just assume that it's glitched like that because of the out of bounds.
Fear
So it's
won
like,
her battle with
Mhm.
the dark side. You will too.
when we
Do you hear
select
that?
Tanalor, it unlocked all of the lore in between the game and the final level. So that's why those pop-ups are happening constantly. It will continue to happen until we until they're done, really, or we restart the game. I'm gonna take a quick safety save there for the boss fight because it can soft lock with some of the strats.
Because we didn't get really any skill points, the main strategy for the boss fight is to combo our basic attack and our force attack. We also try to parry him when we can because it's just a free hit. But there isn't a whole lot that we really have access to. Here is the transition to the second phase, and there's a cutscene here that we watch. It's possible to skip it with a well-timed F11 press, but that does have the side effect of breaking Bode's AI, so he kind of has a tendency to fall off the edge and die, which soft locks the game. So luckily here, Bode will not do that, because Z-Money didn't do the AI break, so Bode is a lot safer instead. And here comes the final phase of the fight.
Yeah, I gotta do saber throw there.
There are a couple of quick time events that kind of happen during this fight. If we deal damage in the right way, we can sometimes skip those QTEs, but we don't have a consistent setup for doing that just yet.
Alright.
And that's Jedi Survivor. Time will end once we see the Jedi Survivor text appear at the beginning of the credits.
33.
Nice PB.
Closer to that sub 30.